women with us tonight, some wonderful guests. And we want to thank you for keeping us company through this winter. We invite you to leave your video on, but to please mute your microphones while the guests are speaking, obviously. You can also, if you have any questions during the presentations, you can use the chat box to comment and ask questions and things. We'll just keep it all moving along. So we get everyone gets their piece in, and we can let you officially go at after an hour, or we can let you stay around and hang out more to chat. We're going to be recording tonight, so we just want to let you know that in advance. We're also going to be doing a drawing for Doorprizes. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to ask tonight's panelists to each secretly write down a number between 2 and 200 on a piece of paper. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I'm improvising. 2 and 200 on a piece of paper, and just hide that. We're going to need it later. And then we're going to ask all of our attendees to also think of a number between 2 and 200 that you put in the chat room and make it different from anybody else's. And I probably see where this is going. Later on in the evening, we're going to have a raffle. Whoever's closest to the guests' numbers will win a prize. So let's see. I think we're ready to just hand it back over to our founder and my co-host, Jackie Carmichael, who might be muted. I think Jackie's muted.
Oh, I'm fixing that. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. Hi. Oh, good to see you all. So good. We'll continue to let in any latecomers. And Cynthia, you're awesome. Thank you very much. I want to admit something right now. And this is a big confession. It's not really a big confession, but I am having the worst sleep of my life. It's worse than when I was 9 months pregnant. It's worse than the time that I slept on the floor of a car full of young adults driving through the Rockies in a blizzard to get home for Christmas. I'm even sleeping worse than when my mother, my slightly crazy mother, decided to build a house by herself in the country, and we slept in a tent in the rainy season. These sleeps are worse than all those other sleeps. So I'm waking up thinking that my scratchy throat means something. I'm having hideous dreams. Oh, I wish for the old nightmare where you're in class and you're the only person that's in their underwear and everybody else is like fully dressed. Like those old insecurity dreams. I'll take them any day. All right, so here's my question, our informal survey of the night. Hands up if you're just having some of the rottenest sleep of your life. Be honest, it's just us. You can be honest. All right, okay. The rest of you, what is your secret? All right. It's just, I don't know. Okay, anybody here like getting some serious help from a sleep aid? No? All right, I'm so tempted. Okay, Lozanne found it. That's fantastic. All right, I really am wishing for something like that. I think I got to talk to the doc about it because my sleep is just, and it's all over the place. So I'm napping all over the place. I'm napping at the table.
Lavender?
What? Whoa, lavender. Oh, lavender. Okay, that's it. Lavender. Now, Francesca makes pillows. That's her thing. She makes the dreamiest pillows. So I got to get one of, Francesca, you can put the link up to your pillow in the chat room. Also, anybody, she makes these pillows that are full of wool. So you can't like be allergic to wool or anything. Anyway, there, you see, way better than my pillow, and she's got the right politics. So super. All right. Thank you for participating in that very scientific survey. I do feel your pain, and so do at least 2 of our guest panelists who said they might need to take coffee intravenously tonight. So the Amazing, Strong, Inspired project is born from an old project of mine to interview interesting, strong, amazing women and share their stories. The mission is now to encourage each other in the COVID-19 winter. We all know it's a challenging time, more difficult for some. It's darker than usual. We're more isolated than ever. Holiday travels are curtailed. I say all this only to say we are in this together. Hugs to you, hugs. And having inspirational focal points helps. So that's why we're here. isolation today means people really need to see and be seen, to hear and be heard. And our first guest is Pamela Roth. Pamela and I worked beside each other at the Edmonton Sun, and so did Laura and I. Laura was with us. We were the Sun crew, and Pamela's work on the crime beat led to an amazing 2-book set, Deadmonton and Deadmonton 2. So if you like true crime, I recommend, and we'll put that link up here a little bit later. Maybe she's got the book cover handy. A few years ago, Pamela, probably more than we all care to admit, but Pamela embarked on a journey as a travel writer, and I'm going to let her tell us more about that. Welcome, Pamela.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it was about 2012. I started to get into travel writing when I worked at the Edmonton Sun. And it was actually Jackie that encouraged me to start travel writing. I was going on a trip to Vietnam and backpacking with a friend, and she said, "Oh, are you going to write about it?" And I said, "No, I hadn't thought about it." And so she said, "You should." So I did, and wound up getting published in a big spread in Outpost magazine. And so I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. And just kind of been on this journey ever since then. It's not something I do full time, although I'd love to do it full time, but I need, a steady job to pay the bills. So, but yeah, I do a lot of freelance travel writing still, and not so much this year, but I've still done a few assignments. So I feel lucky to even have gone on a few this year.
All right, well, let's take us to Nepal, won't you? Because I'm not going there anytime soon. I think the rest of us are all kind of sitting pat for the most part. Even my friend who's a stewardess, I'm sorry, she's an airline attendant, and she said, no, don't travel. I said, but you're an airline attendant. She said, don't go, wait until you can feel really good about it. So we're all stuck. How about Nepal?
Yes. So did you want me to share some photos yet, or should I tell you about it first? Yeah?
No, get into the photos for sure.
Okay. How do I do that?
Share screen. I have to make you a host, and I'm going to quickly do that.
Okay.
Make you a host. Sorry, I thought I'd had this all rehearsed, but that was the one thing that was over there.
It says I am a host now.
Yeah, so go to share screen down in the green button on the bottom.
Ah, yes, there it is. Share. All right, can you see it?
Not yet. Oh, yes. Now we can.
Okay. So this is just the link to my Flickr account where I have most of my photos. So I'll scroll through some at the beginning here. So I went to Nepal in April 2017. And really when it comes to I always look for destinations that are off the beaten path, because I find that the places that really push me out of my comfort zone usually make the best stories. So Nepal was one of those places. And I was intrigued about going there because it was 2 years after the major earthquake that they had. So I wanted to see how the country was recovering and what it was like. So I signed up for a 12-day trek with G Adventures to Everest Base Camp. I do a lot of hiking living in Victoria, but nothing to this extent. So it was quite a wild journey. We went through a bunch of remote villages. You can see here some of the villages were still in ruins. There's stones lying all over the place. So yeah, these are just some photos of what some of the villages we saw along the way, which was pretty unique. And
now, how hot? Oh, so you were walking with, is that pack mules?
Yeah, so they have yaks actually that were carrying our gear and porters. So that was pretty luxurious compared to some of the backpacking I do here on the island. But yeah, these are some of the landscapes are beautiful. I love mountains, obviously, but really what was amazing, aside from these little villages and the people you encounter right along the trail, was it's such a spiritual place. So you'll see there, you'll walk past cliffs that are just full of Buddhist inscriptions, and we're walking past Buddhist shrines. and prayer flags everywhere. So it's really spiritual. And one of the lines I used actually in one of the stories I wrote was that it's not just a hike through the highest mountains in the world. It's a spiritual journey through another culture.
Okay, so now looking at these pictures, the mountains are amazing, but how different could it be from Banff? Do you have this sense like this, the scale of it? Do you actually look at that and go, oh my gosh, that's really tall?
Yes, and that's the thing too with Everest. So I didn't really get a good picture of it because the few times we saw it, you could just see the tip in the distance, and it did tower over some of the other mountains for sure. But yeah, I mean, I've hiked in the Rockies and they're impressive, but these are just on another scale. And like I said, with the whole how religious they are there, it just put things on a different level. I mean, we were at a monastery one night as well, and sat in and watched some monks praying. So again, it's just such a unique experience you wouldn't get just traipsing through the backcountry of Banff.
Now, are these really old inscriptions we're seeing on the rocks?
Yes, and I have no idea what they said. But then of course, I mean, some of these, so like this one right here, this is when we're getting higher altitude. And this is not Everest yet. I didn't actually get a good picture of it, which is sad because it's often shrouded in cloud. But yeah, the higher up we went, the more amazing it got, but also that's when the challenges really started to set in, the physical challenges, meaning the altitude sickness. So that's where I really started to get pushed out of my comfort zone because I started to feel, this was about 2 days before we actually went up to base camp. I got pretty lightheaded a lot of the time, just felt kind of sick, didn't really know what was going on. And I wasn't the only person in my group. I think there was about 15 of us on there. And I think out of that, there was only 3 people that didn't get sick. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that pushes you out of your comfort zone. And we were staying in little tea houses along the way, which only have heat in the living room area, but then you go back to your rooms and it's cold. And so I went to bed shivering many times.
This is a whole other kind of travel. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
You're tough. You're little tough, you know? I don't know if I could do it, but this is, oh wow, look at that. Okay.
Yeah, it's adventure travel, so it's not luxurious by any means, and you're going to be uncomfortable a lot of the time. But after you do something like that, and you look back at the pictures, even now, it's like, wow, I was actually there. And so I'll scroll to the end because, of course, the big highlight was getting to Everest Base Camp. So here we're getting closer to it in this photo. But yeah, so it was a little disappointing at the end because they wouldn't actually let us go into the camp. We could see the camp and it's just this big village of tents. I guess it's home to more than 1,200 climbers and Sherpas and cooks and doctors, but they don't want anyone bringing illnesses into it. So they just kind of let us stand on the top of the hill and look at it, which killed me as a journalist because I just wanted to go in there and start interviewing people and of course, wandering around, but we only had so much time to kind of look at it before we had to go back to the tea house.
Up of you standing by the base camp sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, so, yeah, this was.
And I thought you were in the Rockies because it said Everest, BC.
Yeah.
It's way Everest, BC. I'm like, oh, come on, it's a fake.
Yeah. No, I was really holding on. I think I was pretty out of it at that point. Really clinging to life is how I felt as I was holding on to that sign. But yeah, it was a pretty wild ride up there. I'm glad I have a lot of photos so I can remember it.
All right. 2 questions before we go, and one is the meaning of the colorful flags, and we've seen them. I've seen them sold and advertised as Tibetan prayer flags. So, do you know what they meant? The flags meant?
I think it has something to do with good luck. So they make their prayers and on the flag, and it blesses. It's supposed to bring them good luck. A lot of the things we learned about there are about bringing good luck and having good fortune. So that's kind of what it is. But yeah, they're all over the place, which is they're just so colorful and beautiful. So it just kind of adds to this spiritual, mysterious land that you're wandering through for 12 days.
Yeah. All right. Judy Miller wants to know, did you see a lot of garbage? CBC did a show called Green Everest, which said there's so much garbage from climbers. Did you see a lot of trash?
No, I didn't actually. So it might be different now because I guess that was 2017, so not that long ago. But in the areas I was in, yeah, I thought it was pretty clean, and we were moving pretty slow, so I would have had a lot of time to absorb any garbage around me. But it looked pretty clean.
All right. We got a question from Karan. How do you pick your tour or guide? And did you do this by yourself? I think you did. Yeah.
No, it was with G Adventure, so it was a tour. So
but
yeah,
I mean,
I've done a few trips with them, probably about 5 or 6, and I've gone with Intrepid Travel before. When it comes to places that are difficult to get around and maybe not as safe for women to travel alone, that's when I will look to go with a tour company.
Right. Where are you going next? That's our last question.
Well, it's interesting. I was scheduled to go to Oman and Abu Dhabi the week before in March, the middle of March this year. And then obviously, yeah, the coronavirus hit about a week before I was supposed to leave for the trip. So I was in denial for a few weeks when that happened. But I don't know, maybe next March. That's probably too soon already. So.
All right. Well, I know as soon as you can, you will.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Thank you so very much, Pamela Roth.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Okay, if you want to undo the share screen, and then you can make me the host again. Ah, wonderful. Thank you. I think we could have spent another half an hour wandering through your pictures. So thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank you. And yeah, if you ever want to see more, I have a blog called The Happy Wanderer. It has all of my published travel stories on it. I continue to write for the Edmonton Sun, always takes my travel stories, and the Vancouver Sun and Toronto Sun. So yeah, a lot of those media outlets still publish my work regularly.
Very good. So yeah, a link to your blog would be great. You can paste it into the chat. The Happy Wanderer, we'll look for that. Pamela Roth, thank you so very much.
Welcome.
Yay, Pamela. All right. See, this is silent clapping. This is like a golf tournament, really. Yeah, that was a hole-in-one. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I now get to welcome our next guest, Andree Bizier. She's the owner of one of my favorite places on the island, Windowseat Books in Nanaimo. And if you haven't been there, you really have to go. It's one of my favorite tourist sites on the island. It's so clean and pretty. It's just, and she's got so many books in there, clean, pretty, and anything you want, they have. I feel like I've been blown away by what Jackie and I have found in there. And she's going to give us a quick rundown of some gift ideas for anyone still doing their Christmas shopping. So welcome, Andree.
Get to it. No, I'm just joking. So hi, I got a bunch of books beside me that I'm just going to hold up. I find that with Christmas shopping for books, I tend not to sell a lot of fiction because it's really hard, I think, to pin down what people have read and what they love to read. So a lot of the books I'm going to show you are just like local interest books that are just gorgeous. Like a lot of coffee table books, that's when I sell those. Usually I just sell fiction. So I'll show you the most beautiful books we have right now. One of the big ones right now is Takaya.
Nice.
Lone Wolf. So it's a story of a wolf here on the island, and the photographer who followed this wolf around for years. It's kind of sad a little bit at the end, but they developed a relationship together, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. If you can see some of the pictures in there, that's one of them.
What you got in your sack, Santa?
Yeah. Oh, someone has this already?
Oh, what else you got?
I got this. Converging Waters. So I'm not good at pronouncing this word, but it's the beauty and challenges of the Broughton Archipelago. Sorry, my French is crap. And it's just gorgeous pictures of the inside passage and all the creatures that are in there. It's a fantastic book. Another one that just came out that's very popular and very BC is E.G. Hughes' new compilation of Book of Boats. So they've done 3 of them. So there's E.G. Hughes Paints BC and E.G. Hughes Paints Vancouver Island. And this is the newest one here. And the other one that is a really great gift is Cedar and Salt. It's a Vancouver Island cookbook. So it's, they call it From Forest, Farm, Field, and Sea. So wherever you get your ingredients, she has different recipes for you. And it's a lot about what it's like to live on the island as well, like the smells and the ocean and all this stuff. It's really, really good.
I have a question quickly for those of us in Vancouver. Can we order from you online?
So I do orders online, but I don't ship yet. So I'm still really new, and so I only do deliveries around Nanaimo or pick up at the store. I don't ship yet. So
we could probably order stuff and put it on hold and come pick it up next time we're on the island or something.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Because that last one you held up is so beautiful. I know what I'm doing for my shopping now.
Nice. Yeah, that one is really nice. But yeah, you can buy it online and it's held automatically.
Nice.
The other, oh, sorry. Yeah, the other one is, you know, this one. Everyone needs this one for Christmas. This is it. It came out just for Christmas. They priced it up so you can spend a gazillion bucks on it, but it's Barack. I picked some books for all of you ladies because I think that's important. But one of the big ones right now is On Their Own Terms. Healey is actually from Nanaimo, and it's true stories of trailblazing women of Vancouver Island. It's a super sweet read. Lots of women you might know about, new ones that you don't know about. It's very diverse, and it's only $10. It's a great book for Christmas. Another one, of course, going for crowd pleasers here. So Margaret Atwood, her new poetry compilation. And then this is the one that I think every woman in the world should read, and probably every man. Girl, Woman, Other. It is so, so good. And it's totally for us women. You're going to read 12 stories of different women and their feelings, and I love it. I got a little bit of kids' books.
Hold them up in a bunch.
This is Henry Vickers' art in little board books for kids. This one, Peter H. Reynolds, is one of my favorites for kids. He's always super positive. How to Be Yourself, Zen. Oh my God. The Couch Potato. These guys, they do a whole bunch of cool ones. The Cool Beans, all that. Love it. And then, of course, one of my favorites right now is We Are the Water Protectors. It's a story of a young kid trying to save our best resource, water. And then YA is not a huge thing in my store. So, but the big one right now that's really beautiful, it's Barren Grounds. So he's Canadian, it's David Robertson. It's a new series coming out, and they call it like an Indigenous Narnia. So it's all about Indigenous teachings, and they go through a wall into this other world, kind of like Narnia, and it's been getting so many good reviews. It's a hot new hit for like 12 and up.
Oh, thank you. That's such an amazing selection.
That felt really fast.
Well, no, really well done for packing in a lot tonight. And I love the idea of the nonfiction coffee table books because anyone will love them. They're so beautiful.
Those are the easiest to give for Christmas because they'll always be appreciated, and you don't really have to think too hard about what kind of things they like to read. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if you've done it yet. Did you want to put your address and everything in the chat room so that everybody can come find you?
Yes,
Well, I
I
mean,
will
like,
do
not
that right
so we'll
now.
stalk you, but so we can come buy your books at your store.
I will, yeah, and I'll put a link to my website too.
Thank you.
Oh,
You're welcome.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia, for all your kind words too.
I'm excited. I love books. And your store really is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's growing. COVID was good. Just so you know, not all business went under.
Oh.
It was actually a good thing for books. It blew up the book world. Apparently, like globally, it doubled. And the book world doubled. Everyone was struggling to get more books into their stores and printing books and the publishers. So it's been actually really good. People are reading now. Woohoo!
Oh, we love you. Thank you, booksellers, and thank you, Andree. Clap for Andree.
Thank you.
All
That's
right.
good news.
What's next?
And, next, we have Suzanne Anderson, a self-publishing expert, an author, and a veteran. She lives in the beautiful, okay, I'm going to be in trouble, so everyone's going to have to help me pronounce this. Is it Cowichan Valley?
Cowichan.
Cowichan Valley. Okay, you can tell I'm from Vancouver here.
Cowichan
Actually, I'm from
Valley,
Ontario.
that's right.
So Cowichan Valley. She's involved in a very grassroots bookstore on Vancouver Island. So let's welcome Suzanne.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say that I started out self-publishing in 1997 because I'd published a military history, and it was a bit of a had a very narrow market, and so of course no publisher would pick it up, and so I turned to self-publishing. I was very fortunate. I met someone who mentored me through the process, T.W. Patterson, who's a well-known local writer here in the Cowichan Valley, and Tom helped me to self-publish my first book. So I don't like to make expensive mistakes, and that's what you do when you're self-publishing, you make expensive mistakes. So I got every book I could find on self-publishing to read, and it turned out that there was only one very small book on self-publishing in Canada. All the really good books on self-publishing were Americans. You know, there was Daniel Pointer and people like that. So they had excellent books. In fact, one book I read had from Writers' Digest, a much larger section of Canadian resources than this little tiny book that you could get in Canada, which is actually still available today, but it's never been updated. So I said to Tom, I'm going to write a book about self-publishing in Canada. And I didn't want to base it just on my experience or even Tom's experience. So I went to Simon Fraser University, distance education, took their publishing program, two of them actually, communications programs, learned all about the publishing process and wrote the book. And so this is the book, Self-Publishing in Canada, a complete guide to designing, printing, and selling your book. So, and that was one of the big things I noticed, is that a lot of people who self-published their books, they were poorly designed. And we have to remember that we are up against competing with the big trade publishers. So 10 years ago, I put an up-to-date edition. And actually in 2021, 10 years later, there'll be a third edition, because so much has changed. And that's the marvelous thing. When I self-published, it was the place of last resort. Oh, well, no real publisher wants you, so therefore you have to self-publish. Well, now people are saying, I choose not to go to a publisher, I choose to self-publish. And the resources that are out there and the information that is out there, and so much is out there for publishers. I give publishing and creative writing workshops. I present those throughout BC. Of course, with COVID, I'm not doing any of them yet, or this year. But it's become something that it's not an embarrassment. So that leads me into what Cynthia is, this bookshop. Right now, I'm the coordinator for the Askew Creek Bookshop in Chemainus. Can I ask how many island people are familiar with the new Chemainus marketplace? on Willow Street. Used to be the grocery store, and now they've turned it into a big. It is definitely worth a trip to see the whole marketplace itself. There's a lot of great, and there's even an old-fashioned malt shop with an antique music and, you know, the old 50s music and all that. So the fellow, one of the partners, he is got a background in writing and journalism and publishing, and he's written a book. And said, why don't we put in a bookshop in here? But he said, you know, I can't run it. I have my other things that I'm doing. So he approached the Chemainus writers group and said, why don't we kind of, you guys run this? And I'll give you the space in the bookshop, and we walk in the marketplace, and we're right there. You walk in the front door and we're right there. So he said, I'll give you the space and you can rent the space and let's run it. So the Chemainus group only had about, I don't know, maybe 7 members. And so they put the word out to all the writers in the area, and they have put up a, for the writers, they said, you know, we're having a meeting. We had a meeting in February, and probably 30 people showed up. They were quite shocked. And a great number of the writers had self-published, and distribution and getting into bookstores and finding a place to sell books is difficult. So there we have a ready-made bookstore. Anyway, so we had, they would have been quite happy to find one person to volunteer each day. So we volunteer to run the bookstore. The bookstore is open 7 days a week, except of course Christmas and Boxing Day will be closed. 7 days a week from 10 until 4, and each author does a 3-hour shift, or if you go in for a whole day, then they do a 6-hour shift. And the day that you're in, you are the author in residence. So one of the interesting things that happens is very funny is everybody rearranges the books on the shelf. It's like, well, my books are now over here, and I'm the author of the day. So I'm moving your books, and I'm putting mine in the middle. And yeah, Andrea would drive you crazy because we are constantly moving the books around. We want ours in the middle. We have some tables, we have display things, and you are allowed to just bring it in. You're the author for the day. Whatever you do to promote your book and sell books in the bookshop is fine with us in terms of that. So we even have one who wrote a murder mystery, and she sells toe tags. She sells toe tags as bookmarks because it's a murder mystery. So that's how the bookshop kind of came about. We actually have, unfortunately, this month we've had a few people step back because of the COVID wave and said, you know, I think I'm not comfortable. They are older or they have health issues. We carry some used books, gently used books, some regional ones, some fiction and nonfiction, because it helps to generate revenue, because, you know, it's important in the bookshop in any business to generate revenue. Our goal is to make rent. We're usually about $20 off. And then the fellow who gave us the space, he covers it over, and he's good with that. He recognized while for business to pick up, and COVID hasn't really helped. But, you know, we have had some really, really good months. We have a variety of authors in there, a variety of books in there, and some that are enthusiastic salespeople. I don't know how many people know Lynn Hancock. And one of her books is the story of Tabasco, the raccoon that she owned. She's written for a great number of years. Leah, I see you nodding. Yes, Lynn is just a phenomenal writer. I've been reading her since I was in my 20s. And she shows up complete in raccoon costume. Onesie. That's Lynn for you. She's just an awesome person. We have people who have written multiple books. For example, we have one series by a woman who, when she retired, said, you know, there's really no good fiction books with retirees as the main character. So she wrote one called No More Fridays, and it's evolved into a series, and it's a retired couple who have adventures and mysteries, and they sell really well. They're really, people are enjoying back and getting book 2 and book 3. So we have children's books, we have children's writers, we have memoirs. It's really wonderful, and we work cooperatively, except that I am the coordinator, and so somebody has to be the kind of the last one who says yay or nay on different things. Otherwise, it could get a little bit out of hand. And then I do the monthly scheduling and all of that.
What a fabulous bookstore, and I love that authors get their own day.
Yes.
And we have one last question for you from
Sorry,
Andree.
Cynthia, yeah.
And she wants to know, do you think that marketing is the hardest part of self-publishing?
Actually, distribution is. Marketing can be. I've met people who self-publish. I've been to Book Expo Canada. I've really attended an awful lot of book events over the years, and I always gravitate towards anybody who is self-published, and I look at their books, I ask them questions, I sort of give them some free advice. The thing that I find with marketing is you find people who are very good and happy to market, and they're out there and their books sell well. And then there's people who are shy and they publish their book, and then you say, well, now you have to market your book, and they're like, but I'm not comfortable talking to people. I'm not comfortable talking in public. I'm not comfortable, banging my drum, And so it's a bit of a paradox, because your marketing is only as, your book sales are only as successful as your marketing. But in terms of distribution, that's where we're in trouble. Like, for example, we've had the odd distribution that would take self-published books. One in Ontario went belly up. One in Penticton, he shut down because he wanted to retire. Somebody in Duncan picked up Red Tooth Books. The problem is trying to get into, and Andree, you'll understand, is trying to get into Book Manager so that we can be found. I've had people email me and tell me that my book does, as far as they have been told, my book doesn't exist anymore. And it's like, yeah, it does. So that's I think of the biggest problem.
Thank you so much, Suzanne Anderson. I know where we were going to check out next time. We're in Chemainus. And if you want to put the address on here, that'd be fantastic. If you've got a Facebook site, that'd be great. Thank you so much for your generous time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, fantastic. Okay, very good. We are marching along here. We're going to turn now to Laura Pedersen. And Laura is a photographer whose work has been published in a number of publications. But when the pandemic hit, most of her work was wiped out. Her employment was wiped out. Stuck in her apartment, she found an unusual silver lining, applying art to herself. And she had a whole new subject. Welcome, Laura. Are you with us?
I am. Hello.
That's so great. And I hope you'll walk us through this wonderful. Now, I understand this body of work that you're working on. There's actually some interest in some gallery shows of it. It's really extraordinary stuff.
Thank you so much. Yeah, everything right now is on hold from COVID. A lot of people have been very excited, and then they get me to get all hyped up, and I send them all my stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll get back to you maybe next year.
Oh, that's like, we're all seeing that a little bit. Okay, so Laura, do you want to pull up those pictures now?
I've got them.
Fantastic.
So
now,
I hit share.
For everybody, there is some very discreet nudity in here. So if you can't look at the female form when she's trying to figure out the pandemic, but it's very discreet, it's tasteful. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm hitting share screen.
Photos. I said, leave it in, leave it in.
It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to make you the host then. That's
powerful.
Afterwards, I just have to remind you to make me host later. Okay.
Happily.
Right. So, change host.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So, sorry, still new to this. How do I, there we go. All right, so making these big. This was my first image in the series. I didn't intend on this being a series whatsoever. I kind of had in my mind 3 images, and the whole lockdown was supposed to be like a month. It kind of snowballed from there.
Laura, we only see these small. Can you make them big, please, on our screen?
Absolutely. Okay, wait, how do I?
Just click on the image, I think, right? And then kind of you'll scroll through them.
Yeah, they're big on my side.
Oh, all right.
Hold on. We did this.
We did this before, right?
Yeah. Okay, wait, let me try new. There we go. Hold on. Let me see.
There.
Did that work?
Yes.
All right. Much more impactful if you can actually see it.
Okay. Now, I asked you about that one. How did you get the water blue?
So that is a Lush bath bomb. And yes, I did swallow a lot of a Lush bath bomb. I don't recommend doing that. But I had a couple kicking around and I figured, you know what a perfect time to actually sit in the tub and see what would happen when they explode in your tub.
Wow.
All right, so this is, I was feeling very smothered. I have a wonderful apartment, but like all Toronto apartments, it's way too small. So this was my way one day of just expressing that feeling. I'd also sat and stared at my drapes for like weeks on end at this point, and I was so sick of them. So it gave me a really good excuse to actually take them down and wash them.
Oh, those are your drapes. Okay. All right.
This was, so Easter fell in the middle of the lockdown. Everything was still closed here. And I wanted to do something, but obviously we couldn't be with family or anything. So this was my way. I also felt like I was glued to the TV and constantly watching news. So this was my way of expressing how I felt about constantly watching the news and never being able to go outside.
I can identify with that.
It's not all doom and gloom though. Like I did try to give myself some good self-care, happy photos. So this was just, I really missed going out on Friday nights. And this was how I decided to try and make up for missing Friday nights. How can you go wrong with a bubble bath with actual bubbles?
True. That's my favorite. That's my favorite guilty pleasure right there. So what kind of camera? Karan wants to know. Karan loves to do photography too. So what kind of camera?
I have a lot of different ones. So most of the pictures later in this series were shot on the new Nikon mirrorless camera. And then some of them are done on some of my big DSLRs and another, my Fuji mirrorless camera. So the smaller the camera, the easier it is for me to hang it off of like the tub. The faucet in my tub, I don't recommend doing that either, or to hang it on a rope from the ceiling from one of my light fixtures. Again, I don't recommend doing that, but the lighter the camera, the less likely you are to have it crash on your head.
Okay, what's next? There we go.
There, this is my implied nudity one. I felt very claustrophobic through this entire experience. I still feel very claustrophobic. Being trapped inside is my absolute nightmare. So I really wanted to find a way to express that. So I climbed into this wicker basket that like holds blankets and stuff. And yeah, I ended up, just so in case anybody ever tries doing this, wicker furniture is not meant to be climbed in. I scratched up my back. I cut open my toe, but it was worth it.
Art, the price of art.
Right. My mom hates this image.
I understand your mother gave you heck over that one there.
Yeah, she's really not happy with it. She's like, I guess you're not showing everything, but like it took her months to even like address the fact that I took this photo.
Bless her heart.
Yeah, she means well.
Yeah.
So this is, it takes a minute sometimes for people to see it. I'm in a rental and I hate the blinds in my apartment. I never hated them until this year, but as soon as summer started, the sunrise, the light would just come in and they looked like prison bars and it felt like prison bars. So that was my way of expressing I felt like I was in prison. This one, so I live down at the beach, and really the only way I can convince friends to come this far east is for fireworks. So they have an amazing fireworks show on the May 2-4 weekend and on Canada Day, but it was canceled this year. So I wanted to celebrate it in my own way anyways, because we used to have big barbecues. So I lit this sparkler, but I actually had to go through several of them, and I definitely lit off the fire alarm for the whole building.
Got your rubber gloves there. Good. Okay.
So this is when things started opening back up in about June. I wanted to express how I didn't really know how to even get dressed anymore. No one cares what we looked like when we were inside, right? It's Zoom. You only have to worry about the waist up. But I tried to show my feelings on not knowing how to even get dressed, but also just being completely exhausted. So this was when I could finally go outside again. I just wanted to show my appreciation for being outside, or how being outside made us feel so free, made me feel so free. I'm much better with pictures than words. I did this truthfully instead of standing in line for groceries. At the very beginning, I found it very hard to put masks on and stand in line, and I would do anything in my power to find any excuse to try and see if my husband would go instead. So if I made myself busy by taking a photo, then I wouldn't have to do it.
Sorry, honey, can't. I gotta work.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yep.
This was my way of celebrating Canada Day in my own way. They were really tight on social bubbles here at that point, and I think you could have 10 people in your social bubble. So with the reflection in the glasses and obviously the Canada Day mask, it was my way of kind of saying, hey, everyone, miss you. Happy Canada Day. We'll get through this. This one, so when the lockdown happened and I lost all my work, my hair actually came out in patches like 3 months later, which is something that it's a stress response my body sometimes goes through. But I was feeling pretty crappy because we also couldn't go and get haircuts. So I couldn't even hide it, or I couldn't even dye the brown pieces that were coming in. So I really wanted to actually take a moment and celebrate my hair, even though it was kind of frustrating me at that point. This was my way of doing that.
Hugs to you, man.
It grew back actually very quickly.
Okay.
This was my kind of, this is the room I'm sitting in right now. So this is my little sanctuary. Working from home, at least I have a really great space, and it really brings me a lot of joy, especially in the summertime, my little jungle. So this was my way of just having a moment with this space. This one, all summer, we couldn't really do the stuff we used to do. So we'd have to drive as far away as possible to get away from the city. So we could actually be socially distant. And we saw this sunflower field a week before I took this picture, and I just knew I had to go back. I spent like a full week planning it. I was going to take a completely different picture. It wasn't even going to be part of this project. But once I got there and it started raining and I had the umbrella, it spoke to me. It was a moment. And then this one is, you know what, when you can't do all the things that you want to do in the summertime, you might as well at least go and climb a tree. Actually, funny story on this one too. I actually caused a little bit of controversy. Apparently there's a stupid bylaw in Toronto that you aren't actually allowed to climb trees, even though people specifically climb this tree all the time. And people started sending me blog links being like, are you aware that you need to have a permit to climb a tree? It's crazy.
A permit. Wow.
Yeah, go figure. I mean, I don't think they're going to ever enforce it, but whatever.
We'll flip through the rest fairly quickly. Oh.
Well, there we go. This is the last one. I mean, I've taken almost 50 at this point, but this kind of sums up the virus right there. This was at the beginning. I wanted to embrace the fact that we have to wear masks. You know what? They're not that bad. They can be pretty.
Laura Pedersen, thank you so much. Aren't these fabulous? You're going to have a lot of comments in the chat. I'm going to forward the chat to people, save it, I guess, or you can copy it. Andree says, I want a calendar of all these photos, and we'd appreciate links to your blog and to your work, whatever we can get there, Laura. So, and any other authors in the room, just another reminder, if you want to put a link to your book or to your blog or your webpage or what have you, feel free. This is a sharing space. Wonderful photographs. Everybody clap. Yay, snaps. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow, that's great.
I have to make you host again. Just quickly remind me how I do that.
Okay.
Oh, found it. I got it. Don't worry about it.
Good.
So for our next segment, we have something a little different. I'm doing my MFA in screenwriting right now, which means I get to watch a lot of movies. And I'm also the editor of a book called Poetic Portions, which is half poetry and half recipes from Canadian authors. So putting that together, we want to just ask our panelists really quickly, if you have a recommendation of a favorite movie and dinner for this time. What's your comfort food? Oh, let's go in the order that you presented. We'll just go through, let's see, or maybe, let's see, either the order we presented in or, and also
Pamela, I'm not sure if Pamela's still with us in the room right now. I think she had to step away for a second.
Oh, no, I know she's there. I see her hand up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jackie can help me moderate this because we can't see you all.
Okay.
Okay, Pamela, do you have an idea of an awesome movie and dinner?
I'm not much of a cook, so I can't really say much about the dinner since I usually eat noodles and a smoothie and cereal a lot of the time. Yes, I'm an adult. What was the other, a movie though? Geez.
Okay. It's not happening, Pamela? One movie that you like?
Elf at this time of year? That's always a fun one.
That's such a good one.
Yeah, who doesn't love Will Ferrell? Come on, he's always makes me laugh.
That's such a good one. We're kind of putting you on the spot. We just want to break it up and do something fun. Then let's head over to Andree. Do you have a favorite dinner and movie?
Well, I was raised on spaghetti, so that's what I love the most. Spaghetti with tons of cheese, and the sauce has everything in there. And I guess I don't really watch too many movies, but I'm obsessed with Pride and Prejudice, so I could watch the BBC series forever. So if I could just watch that for 6 hours and eat spaghetti, I'm really happy.
Awesome. These are great answers, and thank you for just being such good sports as we put you on the spot. And let's head over to Suzanne. Suzanne's still with us? I think she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unmute. You want to unmute yourself there?
Yeah. Sorry, I'd muted myself. Dinner. Wow, that's a tough one because when my husband retired, I gave him the kitchen, so anything he cooks, I'm good for.
That's the best.
He does make a very particularly delicious eggplant parmesan. You're welcome to have the recipe for your book if you'd like, Cynthia. And as for movies, I know right now there's all these Christmas movies and the Hallmark. I'm a Tom Cruise fan. Mission Impossible 1, 2, 3, 4 was on. They're talking about, I think they're making number 7 now, and I just love them because they're just fun to watch.
Great.
So awesome. Then what about Laura? Do you have a favorite comfort or fun dinner and movie for home suggestion?
I'm not sure I recommend it for dinner, but I always, I eat very strange. I saute apples in peanut butter and I add like granola to it. It's like apple pie without the pie, so you don't have to feel that guilty, and it takes 5 minutes. And last night, actually, I watched Palm Springs. It's totally corny, but it's a really cute date night movie. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's worth watching.
Okay.
Thank you for all these great suggestions. I'm going to start with Elf. I forgot about it. Thank you so much, everyone, for putting a little fun into our evening here.
Caroline has got a great recipe. Tell me what it is again. Oh, you're muted, honey. So unmute yourself. Unmute.
And hold on. Okay, am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's walnut pesto. You take fresh basil. I don't use measurements because I'm kind of a sloppy cook. Just throw in some basil leaves in the blender, some walnuts, some garlic, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of oil, and just blend it all together, and it's delicious. And then I'm a pasta girl too, so just make the pasta, put it in the pasta, and wine, and it's delicious, and it's really easy, and you can't screw it up. You cannot screw this recipe up.
Thank you so much. And I can see where we're going. We're putting out an ebook of recipes. So if anyone, any participants want to contribute as well, I think Jackie might put the link in here. If anyone has a great idea for a recipe, please just send it to us. We're going to put together an ebook. I'm going to hand it back over to Jackie.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cynthia. Oh man, that pesto sounds to die for.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good.
This brings us to the wonderful Caroline Leavitt. Don't unmute, Caroline, because it's your turn. She is the New York Times bestselling. I just love the sound of it. New York Times bestselling author of the New.
I have it tattooed on my forehead.
You take it off, but I think I'm gonna do that. That's your Christmas gift. Gonna get you a headband. All right. The newly released With or Without You. She wrote Pictures of You, Cruel Beautiful World, and more. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you. I want to talk about my book, but I want to talk about it in terms of pandemic because it became an opportunity. So this is my book, and I was all excited about it coming out because I figured I was going to have all these, they were going to do a 40 city tour for me, and I was going to get all this PR. And then I was due to go for my first event to Texas in March to speak in front of 500 librarians. And I made this whole speech, and I practiced all the hand movements. I knew it by heart. And then my publicist called up and said, everything's canceled. And I said, what do you mean everything's canceled? I have this whole speech. He said, no, I'm really sorry, Caroline. I don't know what we're going to do, but it looks like your tour is canceled. So I sat in my house thinking, no, this can't be. I'm not going to let this happen. So I made a video of the speech I was going to give to the librarians, and I sent it to Algonquin, my publisher, and they said, this is really good. We're going to send it out to all the libraries. And they sold it out to all the libraries, and the libraries had this great reaction to it. And I thought, if I can do this for me, I'm going to do it for my friends. So I put something up on Facebook saying, I'm starting something called the Nothing is Canceled book tour. If you have a book that's coming out that's been canceled by the pandemic, come to me, make me a little video. And the only thing you have to do is you have to shout out another author, and you have to shout out an indie bookstore. And I thought I would get like 5 people. I got 200 in a week. And so I was putting up all these videos. And in the midst of this, the Washington Post called me, and they said, we see what you're doing. How are you doing this? And I said, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger until this other author, Jenna Blum, called me up and said, do you need help? And I said, yes. So we started this thing called A Mighty Blaze. And A Mighty Blaze was originally just meant to publicize books like mine and like other people's. And we were going to do little interviews, and it was going to be very small. It exploded. We instantly had the Authors Guild supporting us. We had poets and writers supporting us. We had Lit Hub. We've got 200 author supporters. And the authors started to say, we want you to interview you. So we had the biggest interview we had was actually a Canadian, my hero, John Irving, came on, and I got to interview him for an hour, and he was amazing. We had something like 50,000 hits the first hour, and we kept growing and growing. And John said, we have to hire more people. We have to hire more people. And I said, I can't hire more people. I've never worked in a company before. I've always just been a writer. I don't know how to do this. And she said, I don't either, but let's do it. So we hired 20 people. We now have a staff of 20 unpaid volunteers. We have producers, TikTok specialists, Instagram specialists, all kinds of specialists. We've interviewed Elizabeth Strout. Maggie O'Farrell is coming next week. Sue Miller. Who else do we have? Bisaillon area. I don't know. It's like a mightyblaze.com. We have interviews every week. We have authors talk to bookstores. So Andree, like, contact me and we'll get an author talking to you and you can promote your bookstore in a little video. It got so big that once again, we got in the Washington Post, Publishers Weekly, the New York Times, the Boston Globe. We've been on radio, and it's very, very strange because my co-founder Jen and I, we call ourselves just two women writers in yoga pants who have no idea what we're doing except that we're doing it. So, I mean, I was very interested when there was talk about how do you do promotion of book, because I think the thing is when you think out of the box, that's when things happen. I actually, for this little book, even during the pandemic, I got more publicity, both from the Mighty Blaze and from other places, than any other book I've ever had. I've had like 60 virtual events for it, just because being out there and doing stuff for the community makes people know who you are, and it makes them look at you very kindly. It became a Good Morning America pick. And I don't know if that's in Canada. I'm a New Yorker, so I don't know. We were all of us here were planning on moving to Canada if Trump had been reelected. So, so now we get to stay in New York City, but we're still thinking about Canada. But the thing is that it created this incredible community spirit and community feel during the pandemic. Everybody was talking about books. Books were being sold all over the place. Everybody was coming on to be interviewed or wanting to be interviewed. We have mysteries. We're starting to have poetry. We're going to have classes. It just became this amazing thing, and it made me feel so great because whenever I see somebody with a book who's struggling, I always make it my business to email them and say, "Hi, I'm the co-founder of this place, and I think we can do something for you." And it's just a great feeling because during the pandemic, it was so much darkness that to bring light into people's lives by helping them is something truly, truly amazing. So check it out. You also check it out, see our interviews, see our classes. We have parties sometimes, virtual parties. If you have a book coming out or whatever, contact us and we'll help you. Bookstores, we will help you. And that's my story.
That's a wonderful story. Before you go, I want to be sure to mention that your current book, and they're all fabulous, I've read some of them, but the current book has a very personal connection. Just brief.
Yes, it does. It's sort of before the pandemic started. I wanted to write this book about these changes that happen in a life that totally disrupt our lives. Many years ago, when I gave birth to my first son, the day after I gave birth, I contracted this very rare, mysterious blood disorder at NYU Hospital. They had no idea what it was, except they knew I was dying. So they put me in a coma for 3.5 weeks. And the one thing they did that really pissed me off was they gave me memory blockers, so I didn't remember anything. And when they finally brought me out of the coma, they figured it was a blood clotting disorder. They sort of found a cure for it. I couldn't remember anything. And I kept thinking, well, so I could have had a near-death experience and I don't remember it because of these memory blockers. And they said, yeah, but you don't remember the pain. So I was in the hospital for about 4 months. I was sick for a whole year. And the thing was that even though my body got better, my mind did not. I had all these post-traumatic things. I would walk in a supermarket, I would see a certain kind of soup, and I would break into a panic attack. And I wouldn't know why. And my husband would say, well, when they allowed you to eat, that was the only thing you could eat. So I decided I needed to go to a therapist to find out how to take care of this. So I went to a therapist, and the therapist told me, well, you're a writer, why don't you write a book about it? And you'll live through it in the book. So I wrote my first coma book, which is this book called Coming Back to Me, which was so autobiographical that my DNA is on every page. And the book the book did very well, but I did not do very well myself. I still was having panic attacks. I couldn't sleep. I was afraid to go to sleep. I just was not in good shape. So 5 years ago, I went to another therapist and I said, I don't know what to do. And she said, well, you wrote the wrong coma book. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you wrote about you, write about a character. And I thought, oh, yes. So I created this character in my book, Stella, who, like me, goes into a coma, not after having birth, it's after having a night of drugs and drinking with her 40-ish rock and roller husband. And unlike me, Stella remembers everything. She remembers everything in the coma. She remembers everything going on. And something else happens to her, which didn't happen to me either. When I was researching coma, I found out this amazing thing that when you're in coma, your brain cells fire and refire, and these extraordinary things can happen. There have been cases where people have woken up from coma and they can speak fluent Mandarin when they've never spoken it before. There was one woman who woke up and she kept asking for a violin. And they said, why do you want a violin? You don't know how to play anything. You can't carry a tune. But they brought her the violin and she started playing, and she was a virtuoso. She started playing on Carnegie Hall. So as soon as I heard that, I thought, this is going to be such a fun book to write. So I gave my character Stella a talent where she could paint. And not only could she paint, but she could paint the inner lives of her subjects. And as I started to write this, I started to feel better. It was almost like I felt I had created this woman who literally healed me. I feel fine now. I still don't love going to sleep, but I think a lot of that had to do with American politics and the COVID. And hopefully we'll get a little bit better. But the interesting thing is that when the book came out, it spoke to a lot of people because during COVID, everything changed so suddenly, just like it does with coma. And when your life totally changes. And I had tried to infuse this book with some hope, saying that change is not always terrible. Sometimes you can find beauty in there, just like with founding a mighty blaze gave me community, and that was something really extraordinary. And writing.
I'm sorry, Caroline. I think our sound is out, and I think that our time is up. You're going to have to get this fantastic book. All of the books that we've seen tonight and talked about, there's more in the chat. Scan through the chat. Oh my gosh. Caroline, thank you. You're so wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate you so much for coming and talking. Yes, let's hear it for Caroline Leavitt, the great Caroline Leavitt. Thank you, Caroline. Oh, we love you too. So great. And we will see you along down the line. Has everybody picked a number between 2 and 200 and put it in the chat? Will there be a copy of the chat? There will be, and I can, you can copy the chat yourself, or the chat comes down. So we have some comments. What an incredible story, Caroline. Yeah, the whole angle of you with the coma and then writing about coma in these novels is just phenomenal. So, and what was the name of the one that you, it was coming back to you?
Coming back to me. I'll put it in the chat. I'll put both in the chat.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it. I feel like I want to stay and talk with you all at Starbucks for another half an hour, but unfortunately we have to go along. So we're going to do that as soon as I pull my notes up. And
I just want to let everyone know too, you can join us again. Our next show is going to be Monday, January 18th at 6:30. Just want to make sure we got that in there. And then it's time for our door prizes for tonight.
Yes.
I know Jackie's sound's been in and out, so we'll do them quickly.
Okay, let's, I would like, Laura Pedersen, did you write something? Did you write a number down?
Actually, I'll let everyone know what the prizes are. Our first prize, we have a prize on Jackie's new book, Heard Amid the Guns, True Stories from the Western Front, 1914 to 1918. We have a beautiful children's book, The Boreal Forest by Cynthia Carmichael, and a set of animal fuzzy socks. So that's what we're giving away at the moment.
All right, so Laura Pedersen, you're drawing for my book. And it is
I don't know if you can see that, 32.
32. So who had something that was close to 32? Susan Lee had 39. Jan, what do you have? Unmute you. Okay, what?
Sorry, there I am. 33.
Oh, that's close. Unless somebody had 32. All right, Jan,
Ooh,
on your way, girl.
thank you.
All right, I'm gonna need your address. I think I've gotten it before, but I'll need it again. Okay, all right, the next prize is the Boreal Forest, this hit children's book that is amazing. I don't have it here to show you, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm going to ask Suzanne, what number did you have written down? Suzanne, what did you have? Oh, are you there? Are you?
I'm here, 75.
75.
Yeah.
Okay, 75. Did anybody, what do we have that was close to 75? Anybody have anything close? 88. Catherine Lewis had 88. Was anybody 97? 78. Francesca on Quadra had 78. So anybody? Francesca, I think you took it away, my darling. Okay, all right. So you're gonna get this fabulous book, The Boreal Forest. Okay, I know, exciting. Okay, and we have the fuzzy animal socks, and they, Andree, I'm going to ask you what number you had written down. What is it? Hold it up. 199.
199.
Holy cats, Caroline Leavitt as number 199.
Oh, that's great.
All right.
That was my number 2.
Well, oh, who had 199?
Adrian.
Did somebody else have 199?
Adrienne Giverson has it.
Adrian does? Okay, Adrian, then you're the winner because Caroline wrote hers to make another winner. So Adrian gets the fuzzy socks. Awesome. That is fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to need your addresses. Francesca and Adrienne, you want to send me your addresses, and then who was our other winner? Francesca, Adrienne, and who got my book? Went to Jan Baker Meeks. Okay, great. We have a hot sleep tip from Marlene, who says it's easier to sleep if you don't watch the news at night. That's for sure. I think it's going to get better suddenly in January. It's possible. All right. Okay, fantastic. So we have our winners, and I have a couple notes here for you. So yes, indeed, we're taking a little break. We're going to be back on the 18th. And these are not my notes. Where are my notes? Special guest, Cynthia Sharp. There we go. All right. Okay, fantastic. We're taking a break. The interesting thing about this is the most challenging thing is herding people to sign up and get the link mailed to them. So I'd like you all to very quickly do that this next time if you possibly can. That would help me a lot. And yeah, we're going to get ahead of ourselves a little bit. So January 18th is our next event. In the meantime, I'm going to be doing some interviews with some fantastic women. I will be posting those on our amazing Strong Inspired Facebook site. So I hope you'll keep an eye out for that. Also, I'm the artistic director for Electric Mermaid Spoken Word Series. And you're all invited to join us on Friday, January 15th, when we have a book launch for Old Bones and Battered Bookends, a poetry anthology about aging. And the great Teresa Shea, the newly announced winner of the Guernica Prize, is going to be there. That's such a total coup. Also, coming up in January on the 24th and the 31st, we're going to have a two-session event about publishing, self-publishing, and it's going to be brought to us by Craig Stephen Copeland, who is the publisher of his own 43 books in this Sherlock Holmes series. And he's going to take us step by step through the process. So we've got some great advice on the table between Suzanne's book and a workshop coming up. So anybody that wants to make that a goal in the coming year can certainly do that. All right. we've got our winners, and we've announced that our next one is January 18th. Cynthia, your last words. Oh, wait, we have to have our word of encouragement. I just wanted to check if any of our special guest panelists, I asked them if they had a word of encouragement to share. Anybody have one of those? Caroline, unmute yourself, my darling. Unmute. Okay.
Got it. Okay, yeah, never, ever give up, no matter what happens or no matter what anybody does. I had 8 books published that sort of didn't do anything before I got my New York Times bestseller. And in fact, the New York Times bestseller was rejected on contract by my then publisher as not being special enough. And I thought my career was over, and then Algonquin picked me up and they made it into the bestseller like the week it came out. So no does not mean no. There's always a yes buried in there. Just keep plugging and magic can happen.
Never give up. Any other words of advice from our special guest panelists who we love? Anybody?
When I wrote my first book back in the 90s, you had screensavers that you could put a saying across. And what kept me going was a saying, and it was, if you have it in you to dream, you have it in you to succeed. No fear.
Oh, no fear. Oh, I love that. Oh, it's beautiful advice. Anybody else? I'll give mine, and it's oh gosh. Sometimes you have to go after inspiration with a club, and that comes from the great writer Jack London. It's like, sometimes you really got to work for it, and sometimes it's hard work. All right, any other words of inspiration before we shut her down? You guys, and we're not shutting her down either. We're going to keep it open. All right, we're going to just keep it open. I'm going to stick around for a while and chat with anybody that feels like it. So you can immediately unmute. And if you can stick around and talk, yes, I love you all. Yay for our guest panelists. Yay.
Can I offer what the word of encouragement? One word, it's called being present. Be present. And the way to, especially if you have a hard time sleeping and anxiety, I learned to use your 5 senses. What am I seeing right now? What am I smelling? What am I touching? What am I hearing? Use your 5 senses. It makes you, grounds you present. So be present and
Nice.
get through this time, guys. I love being with you.
Yes,
be present. So we're officially done. If you need to leave, we're officially done our official presentation. You can leave, but if you want to stay and unofficially hang out and chat, we're all still here. So yeah.
All right.
The
Thanks
unofficial
so
fun part, or
I
take a
really
break and come right
enjoyed
back.
this.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. It's 10 minutes to 11 though, so I'm going to try to not sleep.
Thank you so much. Get some sleep.
I'll
Bye,
try.
Bye, Laura.
All right.
Bye. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Jacqueline and Cynthia, for this. It was really great. I'll see you next time.
Yes, next time. Awesome. Mwah.
Have a good night, everyone.
Hugs from a distance.
I just want to say I'm really sorry. I had a computer glitch and arrived late and missed obviously a lot of really good things. And I also want to say hi to Sharon all the way in Newfoundland. So nice to see you.
Oh,
The other side of the country.
Coast
hand to hand. Aw.
I just realized you were here like 5 minutes ago, and I was
know,
like scrolling through to
I
find
was
your
I
picture.
was late. I was late.
What time
I
is
miss
it
my
there,
you
Sharon?
clue-lit people. It's way
We
late.
miss you so much.
It's 12:20. I'm
you must be
feeling the
tired.
Yuki buzz. I miss you ladies.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
This was fantastic. This was wicked, wicked good. I'm so glad I stayed up.
Jackie and Cynthia, you're wonderful hosts. Thank you so much. You just do such a lovely job.